Good evening. This is Eswatini TV News at 8, read to you by myself, Nathalie Sitole, alongside Zamanzi Manze. First up, let's have a look at our top stories. The Prime Minister Cleopas Dlamini today represented His Majesty King Mswati III during the 41st Ordinary SADC Summit in Lilongwe, Malawi. Senior economist in the Ministry of Agriculture says the kingdom needs to boost beef value chain for it to harness the opportunities that are available in the beef sector. There is a teacher who has appeared in court for preventing students from going to school. And now the news in detail. The Prime Minister Cleopas Dlamini and his delegation have joined other heads of state and government for the 41st SADC Summit held in Lilongwe, Malawi. The Prime Minister arrived in Malawi to attend the summit, where he is representing His Majesty King Mswati III.
The Prime Minister Cleopas Dlamini and his delegation arrived through the Kamuzu International Airport. Upon arrival, the Prime Minister and his delegation proceeded to the Bingu International Convention Center, where they joined other heads of state and government for the official opening of the 41st Ordinary Summit in Lilongwe. Speaking during the event, outgoing SADC Executive Secretary Dr. Stagomena Tax praised Mozambique for his successful tenure. Dr. Stagomena Tax says the SADC bloc needs to actively deal with challenges that are prevalent within SADC, such as terrorism.
Your Excellencies, as I conclude, allow me to affirm that our region needs a dynamic, effective and efficient secretariat. A vibrant and a dynamic secretariat facilitate a vibrant SADC region.
Malawi President Dr. Lawrence McCarthy Chiwera, who is the incoming chairman of SADC, promised to work towards advancing the goals and aspirations of moving towards a common future.
The inequalities and disparities accessing COVID-19 vaccines are seriously hindering efforts to save the lives of millions in the SADC region and must be tackled head on. I therefore want to make a larger point to the rest of the global community. The inequalities and disparities we are seeing in the distribution and production of COVID-19 vaccines are symptomatic of an old geopolitical framework that is no longer working.
President Chiwera further asked for greater cooperation towards fighting COVID-19. Bongan Matsebula, Eswatini TV News, Lilongwe, Malawi.
The beef value chain has the potential to boost the country's economy. Senior agriculture economist Howard Mbuyisa says during the ongoing Food Systems Summit dialogues, beef value chain stakeholders admitted that there is need to increase access to finance, as there is currently a high cost in beef production input.
Tuesday was the third day of the UN Eswatini Food Systems Summit dialogues, where the beef value chain was the topic of the day. Senior agriculture economist in the Ministry of Agriculture, Howard Mbuyisa, says the beef production value chain has the potential to boost the country's economy. Mbuyisa says beef value chain stakeholders submitted that access to finance is a challenge and that government should provide funding. He says the high cost in beef production inputs is also another factor that contributes to the low rate of beef production in the country.
One of the key outputs of the meeting was that there is need to increase access to finance for the beef value chain because currently there is low appetite from our financing institutions to lend to the beef value chain. Another key issue was that feed is one of the high input costs for beef producers, especially those who are feedlotting. So it was recommended that as a country, we need to do some more research and try to formulate our own feed. Also, the capacity of government to produce hay bales in the farms. It was found that we can increase our capacity from the current 2,000 that we have produced this year to 6,000. But there are some investments that have to be made on that part. And then there was the issue of poor coordination and organization of players in the beef value chain, where it was proposed that we need to encourage that and facilitate it so that there can be linkages among all players and improve efficiencies in the production and marketing of beef.
Currently, Eswatini has an estimate of 500,000 cows and a total of 65,000 are slaughtered per year, others for exportation. Reporting for Eswatini TV News, I am Samkel Suekoza with Muzim Konta in Babane.
The private sector vaccination rollout continues in the country. The exercise has moved to Matapa, where workers from the textile sector were vaccinated. Those who took the jab commended government and her partners for bringing health services to their workplaces.
The Kingdom of Eswatini continues with the vaccination exercise. The private sector vaccination exercise began last week and is implemented by SWAPCHA in partnership with Business Eswatini and the Ministry of Health. Vendors, hawkers, as well as factory workers continue to take the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. Speaking during the exercise, factory workers who took the J&J vaccine commended government for sourcing the vaccine.
Ngakusikhuthatha sive semaswati ukuthi asambe nisiyojova
kumcoka lo ukuthi sivikele mina nje vele bengivele ngikufuna lokuvikela cause
They further encouraged Emaswati to take the vaccine as this will prevent them from being critically sick. Some stated that they have been eagerly waiting for the vaccine since last year. They also stated that after taking the jab, they did not feel any different. This is not the first time the government of Eswatini and her partners provide health care services closer to Matapa factory workers, as some family planning programs are provided among others. The textile industry employs over 23,000 of Emaswati. Over 100,000 of Emaswati have taken the COVID-19 vaccine. For Eswatini TV News, Sondomlangen with Muzim Konda in Matapa.
Most schools in the CBD in Babane released pupils as early as 8 in the morning on Tuesday due to fewer numbers of pupils who came for lessons. School principals say this could be a result of threats on social media triggering fear of many.
At around 15 minutes to 8 in the morning, most schools usually have their morning assembly, whilst in some schools they would be preparing for their first lessons. It was not the case on Tuesday morning when the news crew noticed that scholars from different schools in Babane were being turned back or already leaving schools going back home. We then spoke to principals from 3 different schools in the capital city, mainly Meta Dolorosa High School, John Wesley Primary School, and Boys High School about this confusion. All schools principals said they had turned back scholars because only a few pupils and teachers came to school as opposed to the expected number, both on Monday and Tuesday, with no one providing a clear reason for the absence of others. They all said this could have been as a result of the threats on social media, which triggered fears to both teachers and pupils, with some parents being reluctant to release their children to school, fearing for their safety. They said it was pointless to continue with classes where a class had only 2 or 3 pupils. At John Wesley Primary School, the head teacher said about 10 scholars came to school and continued with their sewing project, but later left school. They say this is really a huge blow academically because pupils had just returned to school after a long break due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic, and they had a lot of catching up to do, but then if things continue this way, they would still be behind with the syllabus. They say, nonetheless, they would be coming to school for the better part of the week and monitor the situation. For Eswatini TV News, I'm Kian MCB, Babane.
33-year-old Sibonelo Tshabetse, who is a teacher at Tembile High School, has appeared at the Nhlangano Magistrate Court before Magistrate Joseph Lamini, having been slapped with 2 charges. In one of the charges, Tshabetse is charged with the offence of contravening Section 15 of the Public Order Act, number 12 of 2017.
Sibonelo Tshabetse appeared at the Magistrates Court in Nhlangano before Magistrate Joseph Lamini on 2 counts. On the first count, the accused is charged with the offence of contravening Section 15 of the Public Order Act, number 12 of 2017. Tabetse is said to have unlawfully and intentionally blocked public main road 25 near Gamchiza area in the Shiselweni region on the 16th of August. The accused placed stones and burnt tires on the road with intent to provoke public order and thus contravened the said act. On the second count, the accused person is charged with the crime of contravening Section 80 of the Custom and Exercise Act. In that upon, on the 16th of August at Gamchiza area in the Shiselweni district, Tabetse was unlawfully found in possession of 9 packets of an illicit drug. The accused appeared in front of Magistrate Joseph Dlamini on Tuesday, whereby he pleaded guilty to both charges. He was granted bail set at 1,000 emalangeni, pending his trial, which will commence on the set date, the 13th of September. For Eswatini TV News, Sifiso Ngumalo with Smuva Shongwe at the Nhlangano Magistrates Court.
His Majesty's Correctional Services Commissioner General Eswatini Dlamini, in a replying affidavit in the High Court, has raised concerns over the safety of correctional service officers that are alleged to be ill-treating suspect Sipho Shongwe in the Matsapa Correctional Facility. Eswatini urges the court to engage Shongwe not to take the matter into his own hands, but allow the law to take its course. Eswatini's replying affidavit is opposing an order instructing the department to move suspect Sipho Shongwe from the Matsapa Correctional Facility to another correctional facility.
His Majesty's Correctional Service Commissioner General Eswatini Dlamini has filed her replying affidavit in the High Court where she is opposing an order instructing the department to move suspect Sipho Shongwe from the Matsapa Correctional Facility to any other correctional facility. This order was issued by Judge Nkosinathi Masego after Shongwe alleged that he was being ill-treated by correctional service officers in Matsapa Correctional Facility. Shongwe informs the court that there are certain officers who manhandled him and also touched him in his private parts. Shongwe alleged that when he told them that he didn't like what they were doing, the officers would threaten him with assault. Shongwe also alleged that he was denied food from his relatives for 3 days. These allegations were refuted by His Majesty's Correctional Service. His Majesty's Correctional Service Commissioner General Eswatini Dlamini says Shongwe sounds as if he will deal with the officers he accused of ill-treating him. Dlamini says what she fears most is that Shongwe was charged with murder while he was still in South Africa. Dlamini appeals to the court to engage Shongwe on this matter to ask Shongwe to deviate from such and allow the law to take its course. Shongwe says that some things do not add up and requests that the matter be argued before court, all these allegations in open court. The allegations include the assault of inmates by correctional service officers, the abuse he suffered, as well as starving him for 3 days. Shongwe alleged that the replying affidavit by the Commissioner General doesn't have more weight as the High Court has already issued a judgment allowing him to be moved to any other correctional service facility except for Matsapa Prison. In this matter, Shongwe is represented by Lucky Howe and Ben J. Simelane, while the Correctional Service is represented by Mbuso Simelane from the Office of the Attorney General. For Eswatini TV News, Sondomlangeni with Linton Gule in Babane.
The Royal Science and Technology Park invites university and college students to submit applications under the Emathuba Army program that is aimed at increasing the contribution of youth-led businesses. RSTP Senior Communications Officer Senzo Malaza says the new deadline for applications is on the 25th of August 2021.
To increase the number of participants in innovation and entrepreneurship among students in universities and colleges, the Royal Science and Technology Park this year launched an Emathuba Army program. Through this program, students from universities and colleges will receive a capacity building on innovation and entrepreneurship so that they can start their own businesses. Senior Communications Officer at RSTP Senzo Malaza says some of these startups will be selected to join the incubation program at RSTP and receive seed stage funding of 540,000 Malangeni.
We're trying to encourage innovation and entrepreneurship amongst young people in general and university and college students in particular. So this program is solely aimed at college and university students. Hence, we are encouraging them to register for this or apply for this program before the 25th of August, because this is the last deadline that we'll be giving them. The types of projects that we're looking for are in sectors such as ICT and engineering, biotechnology, agriculture and food, health and biotechnology, climate and environment, and any other innovation that may come from a startup company. So what we're looking for in terms of an innovation is something new or something that is an improvement on something that has already been done.
Malaza further encouraged the students and youth to start businesses that will be marketable not only within the kingdom but also outside of Eswatini. Reporting for Eswatini TV News, I am Samgel Suekoza with Muzim Konda at Potweni.
The Ministry of Health, in partnership with Wits University, will commence a seroprevalence survey next week to compile a comprehensive study of COVID-19 cases in the country. Epidemiologist in the Ministry of Health, Vusi Logotwago, says the survey will help the country in starting proper responsive measures.
In partnership with the University of Wits, the Kingdom of Eswatini will soon commence a seroprevalence survey that will give the country a comprehensive data on COVID-19 cases in the country. Epidemiologist in the Ministry of Health, Vusi Logotwago, says currently the only data the ministry has on COVID-19 cases is that of eMaswati who visits different healthcare centers and also those who were contacts of those who tested positive for COVID-19.
On a daily basis, we give a statement in terms of the COVID statistics in the country. And I must mention that those numbers, we actually get them when we do testing. And testing is actually done in different levels. We do test people who are presenting with symptoms and then to check whether they have got COVID-19 or not. We also test people who have been in contact with a confirmed case to see whether they're actually infected with COVID. There is also a small proportion of those we test who are testing for travel and then they find that they are COVID positive. So collectively those numbers give us our daily COVID-19 statistics. But having said that, that is only reflecting a small proportion. That is the people who've got a health-seeking behavior or who have been forced to test for whatsoever reasons. Now that clearly gives us not an incomplete, it gives us an incomplete picture in terms of understanding the spread of COVID in the population. So what we'll be doing as a ministry or as a country, we'll be engaging in a population-based survey, which is actually called the seroprevalence survey, whereby we'll visit selected households countrywide, and those households will be doing some tests so that we see whether those people have actually been infected with COVID now or before. That will help the Ministry of Health in terms of strengthening the response activities. We want to make sure that we plan comprehensively as possible in order to boost our response to the COVID-19 in Eswatini.
The survey will commence next week Monday and it will be conducted by 70 healthcare workers. Reporting for Eswatini TV News, I am Samgel Suekoza with Muzim Konta in Babane.
One person has been arrested in relation to car break-ins at Fontaine in Babane. The suspect was apprehended by angry Fontaine residents on Tuesday.
A suspect in relation to car break-ins a couple of months ago at Fontaine area in Babane has been apprehended. 6 cars were broken into and money was stolen, which left owners of those vehicles furious and at rage as a result of this act. The suspect has since been apprehended as a result of community effort, where they quickly alerted the police officers about the arrest. 6 quantums and 4 vehicles were broken into during the month of May earlier this year. This is said to be the norm and common in the area where car batteries are stolen. A local resident at Fontaine says they suspect that the alleged suspect is not on his own in this.
He
says they are relieved after the arrest of the suspect because they would have to constantly look over their shoulders every second in guard of their vehicles. The Chief Police Information and Communications Officer, Superintendent Pinde Vilagati, confirmed the arrest where investigations are still ongoing if it is indeed in relation to this.
Today it happened that we got a report that the community has apprehended someone who is a suspect of these cases, and we have collected that person to identify correctly if it really aligns with the cases, and if so, we are going to bring forth that person to answer for those cases in court. May I appreciate the efforts the community has done, and we still say as Royal Eswatini Police Service that our work solely relies on the community to assist us in whatever matter, and in that way we can succeed.
For Eswatini TV News, I'm Kian Msibi with Vuminko Sinzinisa Fontaine.
And now we'll have a look at our financial markets.
Bank, it can be.
Good evening once again. You are still watching Eswatini TV. Let's have a look at our sports news. Chairman of Eswatini Cycling Association Interim Committee Mbusi Motsa says the committee has finally delivered on its mandate of changing and introducing a new constitution. Motsa says the constitution will be ready for public consumption by the end of this month.
In April this year, Eswatini Cycling Association failed to host its general elections as a majority of the association's members disagreed on different issues pertaining on the constitution of the association. The association then went on to elect an interim committee that was primarily given the assignment of working around the constitution. The committee that is headed by Chairman Mbusi Motsa has now concluded the assignment. Chairman Motsa highlighted that the constitution will be ready for public consumption by the end of this month.
Constitution we update and we amend.
Motsa went on to detail on the upcoming Commonwealth Games to be staged in the United Kingdom next year, where he mentioned that if top cyclists in the country, Muzi Shabango, is to be chosen to represent the country, the association will fully support him. The association's general elections will be held in November this year. For Eswatini TV Sports, Fabrice Msonera with Linda Dlamini, Mbabane.
National Commissioner of Police William Dlamini has hailed Royal Leopard Football Club athlete Sibusiso Matsenjwa for winning this year's MTN Premier League and clinching a record at this year's Olympic Games in Tokyo, respectively. Dlamini also went on to congratulate the Royal Eswatini Police Pool team that won this year's Doxies Pool League.
MTN Premier League champions Royal Leopards athlete Sibusiso Matsenjwa and the Royal Eswatini Police Pool team all got a chance on Tuesday morning to meet the National Commissioner of Police, William Dlamini. In his remarks, the National Commissioner Dlamini encouraged the teams and the athlete to go on and break records even in the upcoming years.
They have displayed their sporting acumen at national levels and below and beyond, where they have raised the country's flag high while participating in regional and international levels.
Royal Leopard head coach Edwin Matsebura assured the National Commissioner and the country at large that come Champions League next month, they'll be pushing to the limit.
Nelicembu laseZambia siyathembisa sekuthi umjeka welive
Sibusiso Matsenjwa, who is currently talk of the town after reaching the semi-finals in the Tokyo Olympic Games and went on to break a new national record in 200 meters, has promised the country that come Commonwealth Games next year, he will be aiming for more success. The pool team captain Norman Koza says in as much as the season was not an easy one, they promise to do better even next year. Premier League champions Leopards begin their CAF competition next month against Zesco United from Zambia, while Matsenjwa, who was handed over 5,000 Marangeni as an appreciation for his performance, begins his preparation for the next year Commonwealth Games in 3 weeks' time. For Eswatini TV Sports, Fabrice Msonera with Vumingo Sinsinisa Mbabane.
That's all for now. Before we conclude, let's have a look at our top stories. The Prime Minister Cleopas Dlamini today represented His Majesty King Mswati III during the 41st Ordinary SADC Summit in Lilongwe, Malawi. Senior economist in the Ministry of Agriculture says the kingdom needs to boost beef value chain for it to harness the opportunities that are available in the beef sector. There is a teacher who has appeared in court for preventing students from going to school. And with that, we sum up our bulletin for the evening. Up next is the weather update from myself and the team at Eswatini TV. Thanks for tuning in. Good night.